What's good, y'all? It's your humble Rōnin here with another live episode of Lounge Rōnin. And on this episode, we're going to discuss Snoop Dogg. Yes, we are live. Shout out to Nicole Forever. I think I pronounced that correctly. But we are going to be talking about Snoop Dogg and his recent comments about woke ideology in children films. Quote, I'm like scared to go to the movies. Y'all throw me in the middle of shit I don't have an answer for. I'm like, what part of the movie was this? These are kids. So we're going to watch the clip, share my thoughts, feelings, and concerns and speculations. If you're new to the channel, please make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and ring that notification bell. Let us get into it. All right. So it's a 2-minute and 31-second clip. So short and sweet and straight to the point.
Imagine.
Now, if you've seen my past live streams, I have been talking a little bit about the issues going on in Hollywood, particularly with Disney and their films. And right now they're struggling to gain young men as an audience again because, you know, they spent the last 10 plus years alienating young men from their films and television shows. And in this particular incident where Snoop Dogg, he's discussing seeing the latest film by Disney called Lightyear, which is based off of the Buzz Lightyear character from the Toy Story films. So let's hear what he has to say.
I had something to see. What was the movie with Buzz Lightyear?
I think it's
Yeah,
called
with
Lightyear.
Kiki. And like, and she had a baby with a woman. Oh, I didn't come in for this. They putting it everywhere. What up, though? It's your boy Big Snoop D.O.
familiar with that content, this is the issue that we have with a lot of these shows, is the lack of um, proper commitment to making sure that the quality is still there. Pixar, they recently had a film that came out called Elio or what have you, and they had to rewrite the film. Yeah, my audio, for some odd reason, it got shut off. I apologize for everyone. My audio shut off on me. But essentially, what I was saying was that when it comes to Disney's putting ideology in films that are not respecting the boundaries of parents, you end up losing your customers, and you end up having situations like with Snoop Dogg, where he took his grandchildren to see Lightyear, and now instead of enjoying the film, he's stuck there having to explain to these kids lesbian relationships and in vitro fertilization. This is a children's film. He should not have to be doing that. Many parents should not have to be experiencing the issues that are dealing with Disney films, where Disney films are compromising the innocence of children while simultaneously compromising parents' ability to raise their children. That's, I think, the biggest issue right now when it comes to the content for children nowadays. The content for children nowadays, parents are struggling to find anything that's, just fun and nothing crazy, and something that's also safe and not going to manipulate their children. You're seeing that on a daily basis. Look at Libs of TikTok is always talking about the woke left and all the LGBT and all of those ideologies, and they're forcing it onto children. And you're compromising the innocence of children, as well as depriving parents the ability to raise their children safe and within the type of moral upbringing they feel is appropriate. So I was mentioning this film Elio. It's a film about a young disabled child who ends up becoming gets abducted by aliens, and it's the warrior, the best, is mistaken as the greatest warrior of Earth. The film had to go back through substantial rewriting because he was like a 10-year-old kid who they were going to be saying he identifies as queer, and the story was going to be pushing about what's it like to be a queer kid who's 10 years old. I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. This went from being a film about a kid being abducted by aliens to fight a alien threat to a journey of self-discovery as an 11-year-old queer child. They had to, the Disney studio was like, no. Biden's out. We cannot go down that route. And then that's another issue. That's the irony of it as well, is that during Biden's administration, Disney was full throttle pumping out these films and television shows that really embraced those social ideological beliefs that were damaging children's ability to distinguish reality from fiction, and to be able to distinguish, are they a man or a woman? I mean, during that time, you had multiple executives of Disney come out and saying that they had teenage transgender children. And then you're wondering why the content that your children are being exposed to through Disney is pushing ideologies that scientifically, sociologically, have been proven to have catastrophic negative effects on children. So this is the problem that many of us are kind of facing even now, as an adult. I would like to watch a TV show where not every episode, someone's getting fucked or someone's struggling with their sexual identity. Like like I just want a good show that tells good stories. I think many of us can agree with that. And we want the same for our children. We want them to have good shows, good content that tells good stories, that tells them how to be a better person, or that is entertaining and it allows them to just have fun and be silly. I mean, how many of us, used to watch Courage the Cowardly Dog or Ed, SpongeBob back in the day? As silly and goofy as SpongeBob was, it had some pretty decent messages and stories to tell in there. Back then, you had people who had children themselves and wanted to tell stories that they wanted their kids to be able to enjoy. We don't have that anymore. We have people who are creating content for children and adults that just want to self-insert, that just want to push ideologies and agendas. And it doesn't have to just be the far left. The far right is doing the exact same thing. Look at, Ben Shapiro's failed movie studio. Even Angel Studios in their own right are pushing ideologies and false information. I mean, look what happened with the whole situation with the movie about the guy who was saving all of those missing children. It turned out the whole story was false, and the guy is under investigation for false kidnapping himself and all sorts of crazy stuff. So it's happening on both sides, but it's just more prevalent on the left because, as we're all aware of, Disney has always been a family-friendly company, and which is kind of ironic about it, how like the conservatives kind of look at themselves as family-oriented, but most of the most famous and popular and well-loved family films came from the left. So I don't know. People are gonna have to work themselves out on what that means. Yeah, you get what I'm saying, Steph Colonel. There's something there. I don't know what it is, but there's something clearly there that's an issue. And I think for anyone out there nowadays, like, you have to really vet the content that you want to watch, which is kind of crazy to think about it. And then oftentimes you have to vet the people who are telling you what to watch and what not to watch. And then at the exact same time, as someone who there's too much to watch at the exact same time, how many of us out there don't even watch new content? We just go back to watching the old same shows that we watched 10 years ago, 15, 20 years ago. Because none of the new stuff really hits, or it gets canceled after a season or so. Yeah, I don't, and now, how are you supposed to enjoy content, right? How are we supposed to enjoy film and television where they don't even want to give us quality shows or films? And then at the same time, how are you as like a parent supposed to enter, and I'm not saying sit your child in front of the computer or the TV. That's like the worst thing to do. But I mean, at the end of the day, when, homework's done, you played outside for a couple hours, then you went inside and watched TV. That's how it was when I was growing up. You came home from school, you went outside, you ate something, and then you watched some TV. Well. Look who decided to stop by. I really appreciate your support, Hotep Jesus. Thank you. You keep this up. You keep on spoiling me. I might just have to never leave ever again. Who knows? But I'm sure even for HJ, it's probably frustrating trying to find content for his young one to watch as a parent. It's getting harder and harder to find any type of content that's safe enough for your children and for your own well-being. I'm maybe someone in Hotepistan can start like a new TV shows for kids that isn't like full of like lesbian relationships and like deep rooted like psychological problems. I don't know. It's getting hard out there for us. But what I think is the most important thing for anyone out there is like, in order for us to get better content, that we want. We have to actually support the content that we actually want to watch. Now, if you're someone who, watches Disney films and Marvel and all that, I mean, go ahead for you. But I'm telling you right now, the Hollywood is at a point now where I'm noticing that movie theaters are now taking films that normally go straight to streaming or straight to DVD, and they're putting them in the theater because Hollywood is not producing quality that any of us can really enjoy or that's safe to watch either, especially when it comes to content for children. And I don't think anyone really understands the devastation that we're going to see when children who have been exposed to these woke ideological content, when they get older, we have no idea what the long-term ramifications are going to be. Because in many ways, like, these studios and these corporations have contributed to child abuse with the content that they make, with the ideologies that they produce and push out. But they're not going to get any type of consequences for what they've done. Is Disney going to get any consequences for the fact that they were giving money to certain medical funds that go towards castration of young children? Are they going to see any type of recourse for that? Probably not. Many of these corporations are not going to see that. And so for people out there to get mad or try to cancel Snoop Dogg because he wants safe content for his grandchildren shows how much America has forgotten how much they used to praise and support their children. I thought, children were our future, but now it seems like they're the grave. You already have the issue with the medical situation that we dealt with during the lockdowns and the ramifications that's having on children. We now have the ramifications of social media and film and television ideology. How are we as people in my demographic of age, how are we supposed to navigate these children when they get older and we get older? We as this generation right now, we also have to take the blame for not trying to make content better for the world. It's just unfortunate that even as adults, we have to be careful of what we watch because it might inadvertently manipulate us into thinking in a way that will not only destroy our own mental well-being, but the well-being and safety of all of those around us. And it's so funny, right? That and I've seen some of the animated stuff that the woke right is making that's geared towards kids. And they're using the exact same disgusting tactics that the woke left does in using animated stuff to groom kids into thinking a certain type of way. Where beforehand, content that was made for children had a end goal that either allowed the child to realize the message of the story or have to come to their own conclusion of what it means. But we don't have that anymore. We have content that is telling people how to think and feel and what type of conclusion to make. And it doesn't just have to be in film and television. It could be in the content of those that we watch on the news, podcast shows, any of that stuff. Nowadays, we're being told how to think and view the world. And for children to live in a hyper fixated reality that's so overstimulated with everyone telling you how to think and feel and live, it's no surprise of the mental degradation that we're seeing in the youth. And I mean, we're also seeing it with adults as well. I mean, how many of you around you have heard about the Disney adults that live and like breathe at the parks? Like there are gangs. I'm not even kidding. You guys should look it up. The Disney park gangs. There are grown adults with leather jackets who patrol areas of Disney that they quote unquote call their own and get into fights. Like this is the world that we're living in. Where I saw when I was on my way back home from the trip, I saw two Disney adults at the airport. They had the Disney hat on, the whole Disney memorabilia. They were running around like little children, and these women are married and they have kids. So then you have this same problem now where you have adults who still act like kids, raising kids, and then exposing them to content that is extremely unhealthy and degrading to their mindset. But their parents have already been degraded because they're children themselves still. So, I imagine that, many of you guys, those of you who have parents or nieces and nephews, have had incidents where you have walked in on them watching some weird cartoon or some weird TikTok or YouTube video, and you're beside yourself. You don't know how to comprehend what is going on here with what they're watching. And when you start going down some of these rabbit holes of the content or even the games, like the situation that's going on with the Roblox, I think it is the Roblox or whatever, where they're finding out that a lot of sexual predators are in that game and exchanging images for money with underage children. I mean, you have all of this going on, and to pretend that Disney isn't a part of it or has not been responsible for it. Listen, there's a podcast episode. I can't think of it right now, but there was an interview with a woman who used to be part of like the Mickey Mouse Club. I don't know if you ever seen like Justin Timberlake or Christina Aguilera. They're part of the Mickey Mouse Club. But she was part of this club as well there, and she talked about how she was trafficked and sexually abused through Disney World. And if you look into the land that Disney World is on, it was given to Walt Disney from the CIA. But that's a whole nother rabbit hole. But the point that I'm making is that when you look into the origins of where a lot of this content comes from, it comes from a dark place. And don't get me wrong, there's some great Disney films. It's hard to not acknowledge how great The Lion King is. It's hard to not acknowledge, how great The Little Mermaid is. These are classic films, but we have to be self-aware of the origins of the people that created it and where they're going now. For instance, they've lost the ability, the animators have lost the ability to create the films such as Snow White or Cinderella. That technology and style is gone. So we're also in an age where some of the greatest content and stories and writing that we have loved, those skills and abilities are being lost. They're being lost, they're being suppressed, they're being forgotten, and replaced with very inefficient and lack of quality and care that we used to look up to. So, for anyone out there, in closing, like, you're gonna have to really vet the content that you're watching and be self-aware that a lot of these corporations, whether it's like Disney, whether it's Universal Studios, any of them, but primarily like Disney, you're not going to get content that's safe for your children ever. It's not going to happen. You're better off watching older content. I mean, shit, put on Reading Rainbow at this point. I'm being real. Like, if you want your kids to at any point watch any type of cartoons or animation shows, you're going to have to give them the old school stuff. the old school stuff. I mean, for an example, the show All in the Family, which was a very, very popular show, which families would sit down and watch. The Jeffersons came from All the Family. People are well aware of that show. That show was one of the first shows to actually address lesbians, and it won an Emmy for the episode. And I watched that episode, and I was really impressed with the way they did the episode. It felt like how any normal family would experience dealing with something at that time, and it didn't feel disrespectful. It wasn't forced. It felt very organic, and in the end, it allowed anyone who of that time to make up their own decision on how they would feel. But in the end, the episode was like, you can feel how you feel about these people, but just acknowledge that they are still human just as much as you. They love, they laugh, they cry, and just to be mindful of that. And that was really the end of the message of the episode. And this was a show that was aired in the 70s and 80s. And to take that type of risk at that time and to do it in a manner that was respectful to the audience, I mean, that's something that we don't get anymore in our content. And if you are looking for it, it's few and far between. But I'm only bringing that up as an example because All in the Family was like a family sitcom show. And we don't really have shows like that anymore where everyone as a family can sit down and watch it. You know, I don't know if anyone watched King of the Queens. Everybody Loves Raymond. Those were some classic ones. We had a lot of classic shows that told those stories in a manner that was respectful and didn't disrespect the audience. And I think for us now as individuals, when you have kids or if you're with your nieces and nephews, look for content that respects the audience. And that's really what we need nowadays. We don't have any content anymore that respects the audience or respects children. And I think that was the biggest issue that Snoop Dogg had, is that you're disrespecting your audience and you're disrespecting children's ability to experience life free of being manipulated into thinking in a manner, and as well as compromising parents. So that's really the problem that Snoop Dogg was trying to lay out. People want to cancel him for it. But in the end, we all know that he's right. We should not be compromising parents' ability to raise their children, and we shouldn't be compromising children's innocence for cash and ideology. So I hope people out there take that into consideration moving forward. I appreciate everyone who stopped by for this live episode of Lounge Rōnin, All Things Everything. I apologize for the technical hiccup at the beginning. I'll make sure to edit that out. But thank you all. I really appreciate it. It really means the world to me that you guys stopped by, even for a moment or two. Thank you, HA, as well, for showing love and stopping by. I will see you guys all in, like 45 minutes. Until next time, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, ring that notification bell, stay positive, stay focused, stay true, and much love.